The alien race known as the Ellerin had a universal reputation as the most peaceful species in the galaxy. Known for their tranquil nature, they had spent centuries cultivating a culture built on diplomacy, empathy, and intellectual pursuits. Their society valued harmony above all, priding itself on never engaging in conflict, and they had become renowned negotiators and mediators in interstellar disputes. For the Ellerin, peace wasn't just a principle, it was a way of life. When they first heard of humanity, a new species with a reputation for both innovation and unpredictability, they were naturally curious. The idea of connecting with another race was intriguing, especially one that had adapted to survive on a planet as varied and intense as Earth. The Ellerin sent a delegation to Earth, anticipating a chance to observe and learn. Earth's environment, history, and culture were vastly different from any they had encountered, and they hoped to better understand the human experience. What they didn't anticipate was the sheer energy of human life. Humans operated at a pace and intensity that was entirely foreign to the Ellerin. Where the Ellerin valued patience and reflection, humans seemed to thrive on challenges and rapid adaptation. Their day-to-day interactions, though friendly, often came across as almost chaotic to the delegation. And yet, they were captivated. As the Ellerin delegation settled into their time on Earth, they began their observations with an open mind, prepared to witness what they assumed would be a more advanced form of social structure. But as they observed humans in action, they encountered a paradox. Humans were peaceful in many ways, forming complex social bonds, families, and communities that reflected compassion and unity. At the same time, humans exhibited an edge, a readiness to respond, adapt, and when necessary, defend themselves and others. The first week was a whirlwind of cultural exchange. Humans invited the Ellerin to explore various aspects of their society, from art and science to history and traditions. The delegation observed humans celebrating victories, mourning losses, and commemorating milestones with a depth of emotion that both impressed and bewildered them. Human expressions of joy, anger, sorrow, and pride were all displayed openly, and each sentiment was woven into the fabric of their interactions. Unlike the reserved and measured Ellerin, humans seemed to experience life in a heightened state, their emotions often spilling over in ways the Ellerin had never seen before. This emotional openness was fascinating, but it also hinted at an underlying intensity, a readiness to confront and overcome obstacles that the Ellerin found both intriguing and slightly intimidating. Then came the inevitable moments of misunderstanding. The Ellerin, accustomed to calm discourse and rational exchanges, were surprised by the human approach to debate and discussion. To humans, disagreement was often seen as an opportunity to refine ideas, to challenge and be challenged. The delegation watched as humans engaged in heated debates, voices raised and gestures animated, only for those same humans to shake hands or share a laugh minutes later. For the Ellerin, who typically avoided conflict at all costs, this dynamic was difficult to grasp. They couldn't understand how humans seemed comfortable with confrontation, even viewing it as a constructive force rather than a disruption of peace. But slowly, the Ellerin began to see that, for humans, conflict wasn't synonymous with hostility. It was a means of growth, a path to stronger understanding, and often a sign of mutual respect. Curiosity led the Ellerin to explore more aspects of human resilience, especially in situations that appeared challenging or even dangerous. Humans would gather in groups to compete in various physical and mental challenges, from sports to strategy games. To the Ellerin, these competitions seemed overly aggressive, yet they noticed a sense of camaraderie among humans even in the most intense contests. Winning or losing seemed secondary to the shared experience, and the Ellerin saw how these competitions fostered bonds and reinforced social unity. In observing these events, they came to understand that humans did not view competition as a threat to harmony but as a way to build trust and strengthen relationships. One area that particularly struck the Ellerin was humanity's approach to problem-solving and survival in crisis situations. Earth itself, with its diverse climates and natural challenges, had shaped humans into a species that thrived on resilience. The Ellerin watched as humans responded to situations with a sense of urgency and adaptability that seemed almost instinctual. When faced with sudden challenges, be it a natural disaster, an accident, or a technical failure, humans sprang into action, pooling resources, coordinating efforts, and facing adversity head-on. This adaptability, coupled with their willingness to confront threats, stood in stark contrast to the Elrond's more passive, contemplative approach. For the first time, the delegation began to wonder if there was value in being prepared, even for unpleasant scenarios. As the days passed, the Elrond delegates experienced situations that began to challenge their deeply held beliefs. They saw examples of human history, filled with both triumph and tragedy, where strength and resilience had shaped civilizations. They learned of times when humans had faced overwhelming odds and had to make difficult choices to protect what they valued. While the Elrond had always viewed such measures as unnecessary and contrary to their values, they started to see how, in certain cases, the willingness to act decisively could preserve peace rather than disrupt it. Humans had found a way to balance their protective instincts with their compassion, creating societies where strength served a purpose beyond domination. The delegation's time on Earth began to shift their perspective. Where once they saw defense as a sign of aggression, they started to view it as a form of safeguarding, a way to ensure the well-being of one's community. The Elrond were impressed not only by humanity's technological advancements, but by their cultural and social resilience, their ability to turn adversity into strength. They began to see that perhaps their own approach to peace, while noble, was incomplete. Human resilience had shown them that peace was not merely the absence of conflict but the ability to stand firm in one's values and protect those who depended on them. By the end of their first month, the Elrond realized that humanity's complexities were far greater than they had anticipated. They saw a race capable of both great gentleness and fierce protection, a balance they hadn't encountered in other species. The delegation began to question if perhaps their strict adherence to pacifism had limited their growth, preventing them from exploring a more holistic approach to peace, one that included the courage to defend, to confront, and to endure. With these realizations, the Elrond began to wonder what 3 months among humans might ultimately teach them. As they delved deeper into the human experience, they prepared for a transformation they hadn't expected but were beginning to embrace. As the Elrond continued their observations, they began to encounter facets of human life that went beyond the peaceful cultural exchanges and displays of art and intellect. Humans, they discovered, did not avoid conflict as the Elrond did. In fact, they seemed almost comfortable with it, viewing conflict as a part of everyday life. While the Elrond had always strived to live without any form of confrontation, humans navigated a world where disagreements, challenges, and risks were not only present but embraced as necessary experiences. This approach to life was foreign and unsettling to the Elrond, yet they were determined to understand it. One area that particularly challenged the Elrond's perception was humanity's attitude toward personal and collective defense. The Elrond had always seen defense measures as unnecessary, bordering on barbaric. Their belief was that diplomacy could solve any problem, that all beings shared a desire for harmony. But humanity's approach was different. The Elrond witnessed how humans instinctively formed protective measures for their families, communities, and territories. There was an unspoken understanding among humans that their world was unpredictable, and that safety required vigilance. This was a striking contrast to the Elrond, who placed their trust in the mutual goodwill of others. The Elrond began to notice the underlying systems humans had built to ensure safety. From law enforcement and emergency response teams to national defense forces, humans maintained organized structures dedicated to protection. These were not simply groups trained to handle conflict. They were cohesive units operating with a sense of duty and accountability, guided by principles rather than aggression. For the Elrond, this was a revelation. They saw that these defensive structures were not instruments of oppression but frameworks that allowed human society to function smoothly despite external and internal threats. This realization caused the Elrond to question their long-held belief that any form of defense was inherently incompatible with peace. A particularly eye-opening experience occurred when the Elrond witnessed a natural disaster. Within moments, human emergency services had mobilized, coordinating resources, and bringing aid to affected areas. Civilians volunteered to help strangers, putting themselves at risk to rescue others. The Elrond saw humanity's instinctive response to protect and preserve life. This resilience and solidarity were unlike anything they had encountered in their own society, where such events were so rare that there was no need for organized responses. They began to see that humans were prepared not just because they expected conflict, but because they valued life and were willing to take responsibility for one another. This readiness extended beyond responses to natural events. In social interactions, humans seemed unafraid of expressing strong opinions or challenging one another, which initially confused the Ellerin. To the Ellerin, open disagreement was something to be avoided, as it was often seen as a breakdown in diplomacy. However, humans viewed it differently. Disagreements and debates were common, yet they did not lead to hostility. Instead, they were seen as opportunities for growth, for individuals to test ideas and find common ground. Observing humans debate over issues, then reach compromises, or agree to disagree, was bewildering but enlightening for the Ellerin. They saw that conflict, in human society, was often constructive, leading to stronger relationships and understanding rather than division. As the Ellerin spent more time observing humans in a variety of settings, they began to see that humanity's relationship with conflict was nuanced. Humans did not seek out conflict for the sake of aggression, but they were not afraid of it either. When pushed, they would defend themselves, their loved ones, and their values. This strength was not rooted in a desire for dominance but in an inherent belief that some things were worth protecting. The Ellerin came to appreciate that this strength, this readiness to defend, was part of what made humans resilient. It was a concept entirely alien to their own society, where harmony was maintained through avoidance rather than resilience. Through their continued interactions, some Ellerin delegates began to wonder if their own society's dedication to nonviolence might be incomplete. They realized that while they had mastered the art of peace, they had little experience with resilience in the face of adversity. Humanity had shown them a different perspective, that peace and strength could coexist, that one could value harmony while still being prepared to defend it. This realization led some Ellerin to question whether their society had limited itself by rejecting any form of defense or preparedness. Intrigued by this balance, a few members of the Ellerin delegation decided to learn more about the specific ways humans prepared for threats. They observed training sessions, not only for military personnel but for civilians learning skills in self-defense, emergency response, and even basic survival. These sessions were rigorous but purposeful, focused not on fostering aggression but on building confidence and skills that could protect lives. The Ellerin were fascinated by the way humans approached training, emphasizing discipline, control, and responsibility. For humans, the goal was not to dominate but to be ready for the unexpected, to maintain stability even when circumstances were beyond their control. Gradually, the Ellerin's perspective began to shift. They came to see that human resilience was not merely a product of living in a challenging environment, but a choice, a deliberate approach to life that allowed them to thrive in the face of adversity. Human society functioned not because it was free of conflict but because it had learned to manage conflict constructively. Humans taught the Ellerin that resilience was not a form of aggression, but a commitment to protect and preserve, a quality that allowed peace to endure in a world filled with uncertainty. By the end of their second month on Earth, the Ellerin found themselves questioning core beliefs they had held for centuries. They realized that their concept of peace had been shaped by isolation from hardship, whereas humanity's peace had been forged in the face of it. They saw that humans had developed a unique balance, embracing both peace and preparedness, understanding that true harmony sometimes required the courage to stand firm. The Ellerin began to consider that perhaps their society could benefit from this perspective, that they could maintain their values of peace while adopting a more resilient stance toward the unknown. This shift in mindset planted the seeds of transformation. What had begun as a simple observation mission was evolving into a journey of self-discovery. The Ellerin delegation began to prepare themselves, not just as peaceful observers but as potential defenders of their values, should the need arise. They had come to Earth seeking knowledge, but humanity had given them something far more valuable, a new understanding of strength, one that resonated deeply and challenged everything they thought they knew. The third month marked a profound shift for the Ellerin delegation. Their observations had expanded beyond curiosity, transforming into a sincere desire to understand how humans cultivated resilience and strength without compromising their values. They realized that to fully grasp the essence of humanity's approach to life, they would need to immerse themselves directly in the experiences that shaped human resilience. They approached their human hosts, expressing a desire to participate in the training and conditioning exercises they had previously only observed. This request, though unexpected, was met with openness and enthusiasm by the humans, who respected the Elrond's willingness to step beyond their comfort zone. Training began with simple exercises, focused on building mental and physical endurance. The Elrond found the regimen demanding in ways they hadn't anticipated. Used to a life of intellectual pursuits and minimal physical exertion, they struggled with the intensity of human routines. But instead of resisting, they embraced the process, determined to understand the mindset that drove humans to pursue resilience. They discovered that human training was not merely about strength but about discipline, mental focus, and learning to navigate discomfort with purpose. These lessons were unfamiliar yet strangely fulfilling. Each challenge they overcame, each endurance test they completed, taught them a new dimension of resilience that had previously been absent from their understanding of life. The Elrond soon found that their own way of thinking began to evolve. They had always valued calmness and introspection, but the training encouraged a different kind of inner strength, a drive to push through obstacles, both physical and mental. The humans encouraged them not to shy away from difficulty but to see it as a path to growth. Through repeated efforts, the Elrond began to develop a resilience they hadn't realized was possible, learning to steady their minds and bodies in the face of strain. It wasn't about aggression or abandoning their peaceful ways. It was about cultivating the inner fortitude to maintain peace, even in adversity. In team exercises, they learned the value of cooperation under pressure. Humans often trained in groups, emphasizing the importance of trust and collaboration. These exercises fostered a profound sense of unity and responsibility, where each member relied on the others. For the Elrond, this was a revelation. They had always believed in cooperation but in a passive sense, working side by side without engaging in active, high-stakes collaboration. Through these exercises, they discovered that teamwork could be strengthened under challenging conditions, and that shared experiences of hardship could deepen bonds and foster a unique sense of camaraderie. They began to understand that human unity wasn't just a social construct but a functional strength, one that could be relied upon in moments of crisis. Physical conditioning was only part of the transformation. The Elrond also participated in mental resilience exercises, which humans regarded as crucial to enduring hardship. These exercises focused on managing stress, controlling fear, and maintaining focus in high-pressure situations. The Elrond initially struggled with these concepts. Their society valued tranquility and disengagement from stress. But the humans taught them that resilience was not about avoiding discomfort but learning to navigate it. They learned breathing techniques, meditation practices, and methods for channeling their thoughts in ways that reinforced mental clarity. The result was a newfound strength of mind that complemented their traditional calmness, transforming their approach to life's challenges. By the third week, the Elrond delegates were no longer simply observers. They had become active participants in the pursuit of resilience. They felt an unexpected shift within themselves, a growing sense of confidence and capability. They found that the skills they had developed not only helped them in training but also began to change their perspective on their own society. They realized that their culture's emphasis on peace had limited their understanding of strength, and that true peace might require the ability to stand firm rather than simply avoid conflict. The delegation began to discuss ways they might bring this newfound understanding back to their people, envisioning a society that embraced peace with a foundation of resilience. As their training continued, the Elrond delegates also learned about humanity's approach to defense and protection. They were taught that human preparation was not about aggression but about safeguarding what mattered. This principle resonated deeply, as the Elrond had always valued the well-being of their community. They saw that humans had managed to integrate the concept of defense without compromising their values, using strength as a means of preservation rather than domination. This understanding bridged a gap for the Elrond, who had previously viewed all forms of defense as a departure from peace. They realized that defending oneself, when done with intention and restraint, could be an act of compassion rather than hostility. Through simulated scenarios, the Ellerin learned practical applications of their training, focusing on defensive techniques rather than offensive maneuvers. These scenarios were designed to help them protect without causing harm, to neutralize threats while upholding their values of non-aggression. They saw how humans approach these situations with calculated restraint, using minimal force to achieve stability. This experience redefined their concept of strength, showing them that power could be balanced with purpose, that defense could coexist with peace. It was a lesson that would reshape their understanding of what it meant to be truly committed to harmony. By the end of the third month, the Ellerin delegates had transformed in ways they had not anticipated. The lessons in resilience, unity, and disciplined strength had left a lasting impact, changing their understanding of peace from something fragile to something enduring. They realized that they no longer viewed themselves as simply peaceful. They were now capable of standing up for their peace, of preserving it through preparation and vigilance. Their society's definition of harmony had been broadened, enriched by a depth they had discovered through humanity's example. This new strength, tempered by their commitment to peace, was something they had never considered possible. They were no longer defined by a passive aversion to conflict but by a proactive commitment to resilience. Their time with humanity had taught them that strength and peace could reinforce each other, that one did not have to be sacrificed for the other. And as they prepared to return to their own people, they knew they carried with them a vision of peace that was as strong as it was enduring, a legacy of their time spent among the humans who had shown them the path to resilient harmony. Returning to their homeworld, the Ellerin delegation carried with them a transformed understanding of peace, one now strengthened by resilience and a readiness to protect. Their journey had challenged the very foundation of their culture, and they were uncertain how their people would react to the concept that peace could be fortified with defensive strength. As they resumed life among their own, the delegation immediately felt a subtle distance, an invisible boundary between themselves and the Ellerin who had not shared in their transformative experience on Earth. The delegation began to share their new perspective, introducing the concept that resilience could enhance, rather than compromise, their society's values. They explained how humanity had shown them that the capacity to protect what one cherishes does not have to come at the expense of peace. Initially, their ideas were met with skepticism. For centuries, the Ellerin had prided themselves on their absolute commitment to nonviolence, believing it to be the purest path to harmony. The notion of training, readiness, and defensive preparedness struck many as dangerously close to abandoning their principles. However, the delegation persisted, sharing detailed examples of how humanity had embraced these concepts not as a path to dominance but as a means of preservation. They described how, despite their capacity for resilience, humans valued peace deeply and avoided conflict unless absolutely necessary. They showed how human training was structured not to incite aggression but to foster a sense of responsibility, accountability, and protection. Slowly, they began to demonstrate that peace and strength could coexist, that one did not diminish the other but instead made it stronger. The more the delegation spoke, the more curious their people became. They wanted to understand how this concept of resilient peace could serve their society. As trust in the delegation grew, a few open-minded Ellerin volunteered to participate in basic exercises that reflected the human training methods. These exercises were carefully adapted to focus solely on discipline, teamwork, and self-control, intentionally excluding any form of offense. Through these exercises, participants began to experience the mental clarity and physical confidence that the delegation had encountered on Earth. They realized that this resilience was not about preparing for battle but about strengthening their resolve, their commitment to peace, and their ability to endure adversity without losing their values. As word spread, more Ellerin sought to learn, curious about this new path of fortified peace. Training sessions expanded, and what had once been seen as an unsettling departure from tradition began to take root as a new way of understanding harmony. The delegation emphasized that this path was not about transforming the Ellerin into warriors. It was about ensuring that they could protect their values under any circumstance. They showed that the ability to stand firm, even passively, required a depth of strength and discipline that complemented their dedication to nonviolence. Soon, a cultural shift began to unfold. The Ellerin, who had always approached peace with a passive serenity, started to embrace a more grounded, resilient approach. They found that their commitment to harmony became stronger when fortified by this sense of inner strength. Communities started to adopt the principles the delegation had learned from humanity, teaching future generations that peace was not just the absence of conflict but also the ability to protect and nurture it actively. Ellerin leaders, once apprehensive, began to support this evolving mindset, seeing that it enriched rather than contradicted their core values. One day, the Ellerin's newfound resilience was put to the test. A neighboring hostile species, known for preying on peaceful societies, attempted to invade, assuming that the Ellerin's peaceful reputation would make them an easy target. In the past, such an assault would have left the Ellerin vulnerable, relying solely on diplomatic appeals for mercy. But now, with their newfound preparedness, the Ellerin responded with a calm yet unbreakable resolve. They did not retaliate or attack but used the skills they had learned to create an unyielding defense, preventing the invaders from advancing without engaging in open conflict. Their approach was rooted in the discipline and restraint they had learned from humanity. The Ellerin established barriers, evacuated vulnerable areas with strategic efficiency, and communicated their stance clearly. They would not strike back, but they would not yield. Their firm, disciplined defense surprised the attackers, who had expected submission rather than resilience. The Ellerin's calm defiance, their willingness to protect their home without aggression, left the invaders with no choice but to retreat, baffled by the strength of a race they had once considered weak. The news of this encounter spread rapidly across the galaxy, reshaping the Ellerin's reputation. They were no longer seen merely as passive diplomats. They were now respected as protectors, a peaceful race with the power to stand firm. Their commitment to harmony remained unchanged, but it was now underpinned by a resilience that others recognized and respected. The Ellerin became known as a people who could defend their values without compromising them, a society that had achieved peace through strength. This transformation carried a profound legacy. The Ellerin's example inspired other peaceful races across the galaxy, showing them that nonviolence did not have to equate to vulnerability. The Ellerin's journey with humanity became a model for achieving a balanced approach to peace, one that embraced strength as a means of safeguarding harmony. They proved that it was possible to honor one's principles while possessing the resilience to defend them, creating a ripple effect that encouraged others to redefine their own paths. In time, the galaxy began to see the Ellerin not only as diplomats but as mentors in the art of resilient peace. Their alliance with humanity remained strong, marked by mutual respect and gratitude. The humans had shown them that true peace required more than ideals. It required the courage to uphold those ideals in the face of adversity. Humanity, in turn, respected the Ellerin's dedication to harmony, recognizing that the Ellerin had enriched their own understanding of peace. The Ellerin's transformation was a testament to the power of cultural exchange, a reminder that even the most established beliefs could evolve when exposed to new perspectives. They had entered the human experience as a peaceful race seeking knowledge and had emerged as a society strengthened by resilience. Their journey demonstrated that peace was not a static state but a dynamic process, one that required constant dedication, strength, and the willingness to adapt. For the Ellerin, the experience had redefined what it meant to be truly peaceful. They had learned that sometimes, the most powerful act of peace was not to avoid conflict but to face it with unwavering resolve. And as they continued their role in the galaxy, they carried this lesson forward, proving that strength and peace, once thought to be opposing forces, could coexist in harmony, creating a legacy of courage, resilience, and enduring tranquility.